Hello, how are you doing today? My name is Jimaral Marshall, and I am pleased to tell you this story about my first study abroad trip outside of the country, and basically my first trip outside the country, period. I'm pictured here in this photo at the top left, and this is a group photo of all the individuals a part of the Vivir Mexico study abroad group. And you have the instructors as well as the students all pictured here. We were on our way to the Mexican Senate, I believe. And I chose this picture as the start of my story because this is one of the first group photos we took together, and it was just, you could see everyone's all smiles. Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into it. This was the courtyard at the hotel that we stayed at, which was Casa Gonzalez, when we arrived in Mexico City. And here that we just met early in the morning before we went out on any events, whether it was the museum or the Mexican Senate or the U.S. Embassy. We always met right here, and then we would leave as a group and board the vans that they had ready for us that day. And in this picture, you can see straight ahead is a walkway up to the dining room and other living areas. And this picture to the left, which is dark opening into a room, that was the first that was the front desk where you would be able to get on the computer or ask for service or something like that. It was actually pretty cool because I never really stayed in a hotel, so this was a first for many for me. So after getting settled in the hotel, a lot of us wanted to explore the city, and this was a shot that I chose to describe how Mexico City looked because there was always trees, which gave it that forest nature look. But you were in the middle of the city, so you knew about the industrial spin to it, and it was just I like this shot a lot because it's like depth of field, and you can look deep within the picture and look how far down it goes, and it kind of reminds me a lot about Mexico and the depth that it has within its stories and the things that a lot of people might not know about Mexico. Okay, so pictured here is the angel of Mexico City, and it sits like right smack in the center of the city. And a lot of demonstrations and protests go on right here because it's like right in the center of everything, and you can get access to almost every other road from where this is. And it's just I chose this picture because I like the angel a lot, and the picture, just being around the statue, you feel the energy and just you're kind of in awe when you witness it. So I just thought it would be nice to put it in my story. So I don't quite like talking about the police, but I wanted to get this shot here because the man in the middle, he's just walking towards them all nonchalant. And people aren't really, nonchalant when it comes to the police. They're always worried. But you can see here in Mexico, I guess that the presence of the police is not that, scary. It's like they're always there, so no one's really in fear. I don't know if it's a sense of safety or as much as it is being uncomfortable because that they all this riot gear that they have on would make me highly uncomfortable, and that's just my opinion. I don't like the police. Okay, so right here, pictured here, is a group of people who are rallying together before they go to watch the Mexico versus Netherlands FIFA World Cup game, where it will be viewed in the middle of the center of downtown in the Zocalo area. Actually, is what it's called. And I chose this picture a lot because I like how they're waving the flag and they're getting people ready and hyped up, and it's just like you can see how serious they are about their sports and their heritage with their country. Okay, so I chose this picture here because it's a subway map for getting downtown and getting around Mexico City. And we were going downtown to view the soccer game, the World Cup game, in the Zocalo. And this was just a map because I chose this picture because I never had been on the subway, and I just thought it would be a good picture to have is to throw in here and mention within my story. Okay, you can see right here, this is the Zocalo. And to the left, all the electronic thingamajiggy stuff, that's the Jumbotron. And right here in the center is that Mexican flag. And it's huge, large. It might look big right there, but it's bigger. And a group of people, you can see all these crowds of people. They're getting together to watch the soccer game, and you can just see how much heritage Mexico has for its country, and Mexico is being represented in the FIFA as their country. So they're going to come in, they're going to support, and I don't know. I think it's more support than Americans do. We don't show this support unless it's a war going on, you know. So pictured here is another picture from the Zocalo, and you can kind of see how big the jumbotron was right here. And I also want you to take attention to this 15th century church in the background, and just see the times and what's different and what's keeping people's attentions based on that then and this now. This picture here explains when we went to the Mexican Senate, and it was a well gated building that had like officers all around it, and we had to dress real professional before we went to meet him because, again, he's the senator of Mexico. Okay, so this is where we got to meet with the senator, Senator Granada, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and we all were told to have questions ready for him and give him respect that is due as a senator, and just be attentive and paying attention. So we were all lined up and ready, and we were giving out our questions separately, and everyone was able to listen and respect the next person's answer and have patience and go in a line. It was actually a cool experience because I never met someone of a political professional stature of his, at least, and was able to get this quiet meeting because this is a very busy man, and the fact that he was able to stop and talk to the U of A study group is amazing, and it's kind for him to show and shed some light on education groups like this that come out and to different countries regardless of what goes on politically between the two countries. And I just respect him as a senator for respecting education. Yeah, so we all got our chances to go up to the podium and act like we were the senator. So it was actually cool to play around and act like you ran the whole city. And this picture right here is our picture with the female senator, and we're all grouped together smiling, and the lights are on. It's a lot better. It's way better. So after our visit with the senators, we were able to go to a museum, and it was the Museum of Anthropology. Here in this picture is the entrance towards the front of it. I like this shot right here because it looks so real. But those are actually like dolls, little tiny trinkets, if you will, kind of made just for what they're doing, like statues. And it shows the lifestyle of the indigenous cultures of people that were here before Spaniards took over. And it's actually amazing to see how advanced they were, even though when you hear from the other side, they were saying how indigenous people were just futile people. They were mundane. They were stupid. They just couldn't quite keep up a sense of sophistication. But when you look at this type of stuff and you see it all work together, these are the same people that were building sculptures and 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 learn certain type of artistry that still is present to this day. And it's just crazy that I can look at this, and these are dolls, these are toys that someone made. They're not toys, but it's still like a representation. It belongs in a museum, but it's nice. It's nice to see. It looks like they're living right there. This was another shot here that showed work of indigenous groups where they're building a sculpture, and I believe it's building up to a pyramid and what have you. And they're working together, and it shows a multitude of servants and workers over them, and how they work together for long periods of time to create. I believe this is like I'm not sure what this is, if it's Teotihuacan or if it's another sun pyramid or some type of pyramid for the Mayans or something like that. But it's just amazing to see how the indigenous work. Okay. Oh, there's Tanner right there. Okay, so this is one of the significant things I wanted to talk about that was in the Anthropology Museum. It's the Olmec heads. It's an ancient artifact, real ancient. It weighs over hundreds of tons of pounds, and it's physically impossible to move, really, without without the proper tools and structure, whatever. But they're all individually placed throughout South America and Mexico and Central America. And I wanted to draw attention to these because they look like African. If you see them in person, they look like African soldiers with helmets on, and they have African features, big lips, big noses, and they it's just their facial structure. It looks African, but they're found in Central America and Mexico and South America. So it's just I like the linkage. It's a connection that you can act like there's no African descendants there, or there never was a presence, but it shows it right in the most ancient artifacts found there. Okay, so pictured here was another piece from the Anthropology Museum where this they called him Pakal the Great, and I believe he was a king in ancient times. Where when he was buried and they found him in his tomb, he had this turquoise type of tapestry, this jewelry on that was kind of unheard of at that time, and a lot of people were very much introduced to this material, turquoise and jade, at this time, and it was just a new thing. So the myth goes to say that he was abducted by aliens or something, and that they gave him these jewels before he died and all that stuff, and this is how he got it. But you know how myths are. So we went on a tour of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera's home, and this was a signpost that had an inscription of something that Frida had said, where she was saying, "I can't remember any time when the Rivieras have not had at least one guest in the house. Home sweet home." And I guess we were just we you stopped to watch this before you went into the house because we were considered guests in their house at this time when we were viewing their house had been turned into a museum. So a lot of their artwork, well, majority of Frida's artwork, because Diego's was mainly murals, but a lot of the artwork was still here at the house. So it was just a nice museum to stop by and check out. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead a little bit from the museum and go on to another day where we were just again sightseeing through Mexico City. And this was a picture taken at the Coyoacan Mercado, which is located, I believe, around the area of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera's home. And this was after our tour of Diego Rivera and Frida's home. We just went out throughout the neighborhood and visited the nice parks and markets and restaurants, and it was just a beautiful place. You can see the trees in the background and the little statues and stuff. That coyote to the side of me, but it was just a good sight to see. So pictured here is the lovely Frida Kahlo. She's one of the most extraordinary Mexican artists of all time, and she's also the lover of Diego Rivera. This is a self-portrait that she did of herself, and it was one of my favorite pictures because it looks so real and it looks like an actual photo, but it's a painting of a photo. Diego Rivera also did self-portraits. He would put himself within his murals, and this is a Diego Rivera to the right at the bottom. But this picture is a lot more bigger than it appears to be. It's an actual mural, and it's along a wall, so I couldn't quite get the whole entire picture, but it was just a instance to show you how Diego Rivera works. So here's another mural. It's kind of still it looks small, but it's big. It's the size of a wall. And this, and within Diego Rivera's murals, he told the story of the people and the townspeople and what was going on at that time. And this was during the, I believe he was explaining the Cold War. I'm not sure. I knew he was a communist, but it was here in this picture you can see the rebels, which were the represented the indigenous people and the people of the land, trying to take back power from the rich people who actually tried to come in and capitalize everything. And this is, you see in the center of the picture, a woman is giving this rich woman a broom to sweep up her stuff, and mainly it's the arts. And this guy at the corner kneeling down, and he has donkey ears because they're making he's being kicked down because they're trashing all their fine arts, like, you know, music and artwork and painting and stuff like that. And it's some of the hobbies of the rich, and they're telling me they don't want none of that. Or I quite don't understand, but that's kind of what I got from it. Okay, right here you can see us all grouped together, and we're actually on a tour. And the guy with his hands behind his back is our tour guide, and he's giving us an explanation of. I believe at this time we were on the Independent Trail, and you can see me smiling with my hands up right there, waving hi to the camera. Um, you know, we were just learning, and we had to have a translator on site because the tour guide spoke in Spanish, and he was just talking about the independence of Mexico and the trail that the um, the four leaders took to recruit people and to spread the word that they were doing an independence. So pictured here in the center of the statue is Miguel Hidalgo, and he was one of the monumental first rock throwers of the Mexican independence, and he gave the cry of Dolores in the city of Dolores that really rallied a lot of people up to get them going to fight the Spaniards in the Mexican independence. He's actually noted as the father of independence. And to the left of him is a eagle statue that you probably can't quite see, but um, he has a kind of a flag in his mouth that says liberty on it, and but it's in Spanish. And this is just a marking that tells you along the trail. It's a marking along the Independence Trail that they took back some centuries ago, 400, 500 centuries ago, when they were walking and they were going to fight the Spaniards. So this is a picture of Teotihuacan, and this was one of the key events along the study abroad program because I was very excited to see an ancient civilization and how it was structured and built. And this was um, like a direct link back to ancient times that we could go to. It almost felt like being in a time portal or a time capsule or something. Because when you get there, the weather changes, the sense around you, everything changes, and you just feel like you're in a different place, in a different territory. You know, you can sense the presence, and it was just amazing to actually see the monumental work that was done with these pyramids and how advanced people were before, you know, the Spanish Inquisition or whatever religion came and wiped out the indigenous people. This is a closer shot of the pyramids. I believe this is the pyramid of the moon, and because there was two pyramids. There was a pyramid of the sun and a pyramid of the moon, and then there was the sub pyramids that led up to each pyramid. And I believe pictured here is the pyramid of the moon, and it was a little bit shorter than the pyramid of the sun, and the less distance of a walk upwards. But luckily, there were steps on these pyramids, so. So pictured here is the pyramid of the sun, and this pyramid is like at least twice the size of the pyramid from the previous slide. And the walk up this pyramid is twice as long as well. But once you get to the top, the view is phenomenal, and I would suggest that anyone who goes to visit Mexico stop by these pyramids and give it a try because it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I just love being around the people and the tourism that was there, and you're really welcome when you come. I like this shot here. This was the shot when we went to Guanajuato, and the colors in the background are just really vibrant to me. This is how they set up on the streets of the mercados. Like back in America, we have a lot of stores, food stores, and department stores and whatnot. But here, it's like a direct. You meet the merchant, and it's direct, like wholesale. You buy right from them, and there's no middleman. You don't have to go to someone else. You really get right to the source of who has what, and they have the fruit, they have the clothes, they have all types of stuff. They have the book bags right here in the corner. You see these rainbow-looking book bags. Those are backpacks, the handmade backpacks. And a lot of the things that you get in the mercados on the streets are handmade, has better quality to it than something that's commercial that was made in the warehouse somewhere. So here's another picture from Guanajuato City, which is in Mexico as well. And in the background is the Teatro of Juarez, which is an old time building. I believe it was built in the 1500s, and that's why it has such a different look than other modern theaters and whatnot. And it's a theater where you perform the arts, and it's kind of the arts that are performed here are depicted within those statues that are sitting at the top of the building. You have someone who plays a harp, and you have painters, poets, opera singers. They're all different depictions of the arts. And the statues down here below, there's no real significance to those statues. I think it's just artistry within Guanajuato that's being displayed. So me being a black man, I'm not one to speak highly of glass ceilings, but this was probably the only glass ceiling I would admire. It was a shot from the Bella Artes performing art theater that we went to go see a play, and it was just really a nice shot. And you can kind of, when the sun shines, it shines through, and you can get the whole room be lit up in illuminated colors, and you can just see all the different artwork and different figures within the glass, and it's just really a breathtaking sight to see. Okay, I'm not that big on religion, but churches are very prevalent in Mexico, and they take the artwork within these churches very seriously. And some of the altars and the setups around the podium where the pastor would speak are usually handcrafted, wooden, dipped in gold, like the most extravagant pieces of artwork you might see. And it's just crazy the way that how detailed they get with the designs in some of these churches, but it's just really. I'm not a religious person. That's why I look at it from a certain scope. But I bet a lot of people would feel honored to just be in such a high presence, and I believe that's where it comes from, just being closer to God and thinking holiness. So it's a prestigious look that they put forth when you go to the churches within Mexico. Okay, again, speaking on churches, this is a picture of a church from the outside. I think we were in San Miguel, it's a little city outside of Guanajuato, and you can just see how old this church looks. Like this was not built within the last 200 years, probably the last, let's say 600 years, like 15th century, early 16th century churches. And this style mainly came from Spain, where the Catholics came in and they just replaced a lot of the spiritual presence that came with the indigenous peoples, and they replaced it with this religious presence of, God and worshiping the Virgin Mary and whatnot. But I just like to see the old-fashioned work that was done. You can see how old these churches are. Again, speaking of the churches, the artwork that was done within the churches is probably some of the best artwork within the city, and it was called on upon some of the best craftsmen to come in and work within the churches. And this right here is a piece that's like hand carved out of wood, and it's like if you go over the video with the zoom in, zoom out button, you can see how detailed these etches art outside of the wood. And lots of times the craftsmen and the artisans who worked within the church took it upon themselves as, as an honor just to work with the church and have their artwork displayed within the church. It's just a beautiful thing to see. Sometimes it'll be dipped in gold or something like that and have this shiny look, and then sometimes it'll just be completely all wood like this. Okay, this is just to draw emphasis to the first slide that was before this one that was just wooden. You can see the difference between this, how grand this setup looks compared to the last one. I believe they were in the same church, but different sections throughout the church. And the reason why they did this, the reason in doing so is there's like a class system, just like there is a class system in America and Paris or wherever you go. There's a class system in Mexico too, and back in the old times, within the 16th century, when churches were first being built, the Spaniards that came within Mexico didn't really want to be accompanied with many of the indigenous groups that were here, which were mainly Indians, and like the Mayans and the Zapotec, who were not, and they would separate these people. So you would have the Spaniards would basically have church in a nice looking church like this, or in a nice section of the church where everything is glittery and gold and fancy and royalty looking, while the Spanish, or I'm sorry, while the Mexicans would have church in a certain part of the church, will have service in the church where it wasn't as grand and it wasn't about being royal or having a fancy gold drapery and artwork and stuff. It was just about listening to the word. And a lot of the indigenous people were separated too from the Mexicans because they didn't find them as being pure people and whatnot. So they all had different types of places where they worshiped, and you could see the work that was put into the sophistication of the churches that they were praying at. This is the church where I believe the Spanish prayed. That's why it's dipped in gold. Okay, so on a lighter note, pictured here is the building for the summer camp that we were involved in the last week of our our study abroad trip. And this place is called Resplandor, and it's a summer camp that gets youth outside of Guanajuato from anywhere from ages 5 to 14 and 15 and 16, and they have them come out to the summer camp, and us as students, U of A students or whatnot, whatever school you come from, you get involved with the students and you create a curriculum that they try to learn within a week, and you get to learn a lot of a lot of new faces and see a lot of new people, and just really meet a lot of amazing people. And it was a great time, and it was a good time, a good way to end our trip and our vacation to Mexico. Okay, here's another shot from Resplandor, the summer camp, and here you can just see the magnitude of children we were working with, and it was a lot of children, and we had to keep them all in line and get them, and keep them busy. And it's kind of hard to keep children busy when there's so many of them and keep track of things. But we all worked together as a unit, and we broke off into different teams. And we had a game plan, we had lesson plans, we had things we were already assigned to do. But really, once you get things into play and they start going, it's kind of hard to keep track of things. But it was just a fun thing. It was just really exciting to be a part of and work with so many different faces and children. At first, I thought I would be annoyed, but towards the end, I was kind of missing the kids and wanted to spend more time with them. And this was one of the highlights of my vacation study abroad in Mexico. Okay, so I'm going to end my digital story project with this photo here. And I love this photo because we have smiles across the board. I mean, different faces, different shapes, different colors, different sizes, everything. But it's happiness, it's joy. And it's kind of hard to look at this picture and not be happy or crack a smile, because there was times where I just I was ready to go home and I was getting a little homesick. But when I go back and I look at the pictures of the things I was doing and the people I was with, I was on vacation and I should have really, took heed to that. I mean, I understood I was on vacation then, but while I was doing it, I had a lot of things on my mind. I was always trying to get stuff done and be on track and be on time. But really, it was just a blissful time, and I just didn't want it to stop. And we're pictured here under this tree because this is called the Tree of Life. And the kids hang their butterflies from the tree when they do good and get like rewards for the day. And I don't know, I love this picture so much. It's one of my favorite pictures from vacation, and it was just a wonderful way to end the whole study abroad program, and a wonderful way to end my supervision story. Viva Mexico, and you go.